Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 61 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. Logged in to find a little bit of a backlog here on this guy. We had a little extra aluminum ore, so I had to bump up the capacity of the barrel storing the aluminum ore. Definitely starting to run into more storage issues. Might have to get into applied energistics earlier than I thought, but we'll see. Don't want to jump into that just yet though. Definitely want to take a look at my nuclear reactor setup. So, want to give you guys the heads up that if your sorting system is backlogged when you downloaded World Episode 60, that's probably a good solution there. Let's sneak over to our nuclear reactor and do a quick recap of what we covered last episode. I built a nuclear reactor powered by golems and lapis lazuli. We've got LZH condensators here, which absorb all the heat from the adjacent uranium cells. It gets dumped directly into the condensators. Then, when the LZH condensators run out of lapis inside and they are emptied, the golems here will quickly place the empty one into the chest, which will get converted to a 40% full and then up to an 80% full condensator. And then this golem is trained to take that 80% full condensator and place it back in the nuclear reactor. We've made sure to put reactor plating and overclocked heat vents in here. The reactor plating acts as just a cheap buffer to prevent the LZH condensators from landing in these slots when the golem places it in. And the overclocked heat vents serve to give it just a few seconds while the LZH condensators are made, so that if any heat is getting dumped into the reactor, the overclocked heat vents will be able to handle that and take care of it. Okay, so we haven't tested this on a full run just yet, but we saw that we were getting a ton of energy. I mean, holy cow, did we get a lot of energy in this MFSU. I mean, we're getting 2,000 EU per tick, and just look at it, it's rapidly filling up the MFSU. So this episode, we're going to do a few things. I want to introduce you guys to some automated temperature monitoring techniques, and I'm also going to automate the fact that this nuclear reactor will turn off when the MFSU fills up. Then I want to talk about maybe creating some kind of way to automatically supply extra lapis into these chests. So we're going to have a little bit of work to do, but in the end, I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So let me get situated, make sure I've got all the items I need. Gonna go ahead and take a look at that lapis bee, maybe even get myself a couple lapis bees. Why don't I even start on that real quick? Brief rainstorm, that was cool. So let's do this. I don't think I have any lapis bees sitting around. I've got some emeralds, but nothing too fancy. Yeah, watery, resilient. Okay, nothing along those lines. So what I'm going to do is get my lapis species serum, make sure that we have our synthesizer ready to go, start synthesizing some lapis, and then we'll convert a couple bees that I happen to have into the lapis bee. Nice. Going to go ahead and purify the fast productivity that I had left in there. We'll be back in a few to get some lapis bees. We'll see how much lapis we get. I'm not quite sure how much we'll have in there, but yeah, we'll definitely find out. Then, we'll see about maybe a UU matter recipe using fabricators. All right, so easily change your bees into a different type of bee by simply applying the lapis species serum. Here goes nothing. So I'm going to let this cook off, and then I'm going to get to work on the reactor. Alright guys, let's talk about nuclear control. It's an add-on for industrial craft. So some mods have mods that mod the mod. As much sense as that makes. But basically, somebody wrote a mod to allow you to have better control and monitoring of your nuclear reactors than is available in the vanilla industrial craft. So what we've got here is a bunch of items called sensor kits. These guys can be mounted on all kinds of different stuff and can report information. In particular, what we're looking for right now is the remote sensor kit. This guy is pretty cool. You'll be able to place this on your nuclear reactor and then have it feed back information to you about all kinds of interesting stuff about what the reactor is doing and all this other stuff. And then we can implement in the world monitors. If we go ahead and look over here, we'll see that we've got the thermal monitor and the remote thermal monitor and all kinds of other cool stuff that we can use to detect when these machines or the nuclear reactors are creating too much heat or how much energy they're giving off, whether they're on or off at the time. And then we can even do stuff like emit redstone signals under certain conditions. And once we've got all that working, we can use it to automate and shut down the reactor if, for example, it gets too hot, or if, for example, anything along those lines happens. So why don't we get situated and start building these components, and I'll show you how they all work. All right, first step is making the remote sensor kit. As you can see here, I just made 2 of them. Cool. That should be enough. Now, these get mounted on the reactor, and what we want to use these for is the following. There's actually 2 blocks that I want to put in this room. First, I want to create this guy. I believe it's called the remote thermal monitor. What we can do is you can either take a thermal monitor and attach it directly to the nuclear reactor, or you can create the remote thermal monitor, which is this guy, and you can use it to receive information from the remote sensor kit. So these 2 items talk to each other. And the remote thermal monitor is a block that we're going to place in world. So let's go ahead and do the following. We're going to just snag some of this, and we're going to create the machine block that's needed for it. And we're going to create the frequency transmitter that's needed for it. There we go. And then we're going to create the remote thermal monitor that's needed for it. Now for this, we're going to need an advanced circuit. We're going to need some redstone. So I think we've got the stuff to make an advanced circuit in the chest already. No lapis in there? Nah, not enough. Close though. There we go. And then we're going to need we've got redstone. We're going to need some reinforced glass. Not terribly hard to make though. So let's go ahead and get this thing set up. And we'll just snag a couple. Over here I should have a couple extra of these. And let's snag some glass here. That ought to be enough. There we go. Gotta love building with this cool stuff. There's 1 and 2. Cool, remote thermal monitor. Now the next thing I want to get is the industrial information reader and extender. So the industrial information panel can display things. And then, let's see, is that not called here? There we go. So here's the panel, and then you can use an extender to make it longer. So let's get all the stuff we need for this. I'm going to say, we'll get a couple of these extenders. They're relatively cheap. So I guess first off, we'll need some glass panes. Oh, that was a lot. Just ran out of my minium stone while I was transmuting the dyes, so I had to make a new one. Okay, so let's get this industrial information panel ready to go. Just need this stuff. All right, we'll recipe up that, and we'll throw 1, 2 of you in, and that should be enough to get that going. Now, let's go for now. We just need a little bit of wood. We should be able to manage that, no problem. That's probably a good start. 6 of them. We'll see if we need more. All right, let's go check out how this whole thing works, okay? So I'm thinking I'd like to place my industrial information panel over here on the back corner of this room. So in order for this to work, I have to place the panel down. Well, I think the panel I want to have go here. And then the extenders can go like this. Probably want a couple more of these. We'll see. Let's see what kind of information we can get. Now, in order for this to work, we need to apply a redstone signal to it. So I'm going to get some levers to prepare for that. And just place it on the side of your panel and flick it on and off. Okay, but right now the panel can't do anything. The reason for that is we need some information to be transmitted by way of the remote sensor kit. So attach a remote sensor kit to your reactor by right-clicking on it. That will transform the remote sensor kit into a remote sensor location card with the XYZ coordinates of the nuclear reactor in the world. Cool. Then we can open up this interface right here and place that in here. And you can see all kinds of stuff. We can name it nuke number 1. Cool. And let's see what happens if I flip the lever. Out of range. Uh-oh. We actually have to have a range update. These guys can only reach about 8 blocks. And in order for this range to reach, well, we're going to have to get ourselves a range update. So let's see what's involved in making one of those. Probably not too expensive. I'll be back when I've got one. I think it's this thing, by the way. Range upgrade. That's not bad. All right, let's try that again. Turn it off, install the range upgrade. I think that goes here, and turn it back on. Hey, cool, look at that, we're reading information. Current temperature is 0, max heat 16,000. Remember I told you guys that because I'm placing the reactor plating in here, it allows me to have a slightly better max heat. Note that when I took one of the reactor platings out, max heat is now 15,000, okay? Important stuff. Okay. You can also stack these, by the way, but I don't think it registers that if you stack them properly. So you want to keep them separate like that. There we go. Melting point 13600, current output of EU, and the time remaining is how much time remains before it runs out of uranium fuel. All right, good important stuff. So we can actually tweak this a little bit. I want to make this screen a little bit nicer looking. So let's do something like this. You can see I made more of these. Oh yeah, that looks good. Give it a little bit more spacing, a little bit more stuff, and you can see it's currently off. Now, there's other stuff we can do. If we click this button here, you can see it removes the labeling of the text. Not really necessary. I like the labeling. It looks good like that. You can also disable current measurements. So if I don't care about the max heat's always going to be the same. I don't really worry about that. Nor do I worry about the melting temperature. There we go. Now all it's telling me is the temperature, the output, and the remaining time. If I flip this guy on, we should see that it's on and outputting 2000 EU per tick, and the time remaining starts to tick down. Ho, cool stuff right there. All right, flipping it back, okay? Now next up, I want to show you guys the remote thermal monitor. Now this thing is important-ish, so let's get it ready. What I want to have set up is probably right nearby. I'm going to place it, where do I want this thing? That's the question, is where do I want it? Probably like right here, but I don't want this connected. Well, it should be okay. Let's see. I'll have to figure out exactly how I want to lay this out. I probably want to switch up where my MFSU is, but we'll see. How about, give me a second to think this through. I might want to move my MFSUs over to this wall. Might not be a bad idea. So one thing I definitely wanted to grab was 2 transformer upgrades. Remember I told you guys early on about, how much EU blocks can receive. And, most machines can only accept 32, and then, 128. Very few machines can accept, and even less can accept the 512 that we're currently outputting through this line. Well, the remote thermal monitor is definitely one that cannot accept too much heat, or too much EU, that is. So I wanted to create those transformer upgrades. We could either create the LV transformer and the MV transformer, but that takes up a lot of space in world. What I'd rather do is just put a transformer upgrade in there, and that means that the block can accept higher EU levels. Cool. Now, where do I want to place this thing is the main question that I'm thinking of. I want to put it right here. Okay, so if I put this guy like so, ta-da, and go ahead and place in here the transformer upgrades, that should allow this remote thermal monitor to accept the higher voltage current. Let's flip this on for a second, and we should see that, yes, indeed, he is accepting energy. That's his current energy level. Important. Good. And it'll slowly degrade when the reactor's off, which is, not the greatest thing, actually. I probably want it to, stay on. So let's see, what's a good idea or solution for that? So a good solution to this problem might be to ensure that energy is always coming out of the MFSU and keeping this thing running. It really uses a very small amount, 1 EU per tick, I believe. So let's run some glass fiber cabling from here into here. And I don't like the way that looks and what happens here. What's happening is the energy is going to be flowing out of the MFSU and right back into it, and it's just being funky. So in order to get these 2 cables not to connect, I want to craft this thing right here. I thought I had shown you guys this before, but I couldn't find it anywhere, so oh well. I'll make a paintbrush, and I'll get 2 different color painters. And what happens is you can right-click on your wires to paint them. So you can see I made that yellow, and I made this one black, and they won't connect to each other, which is pretty neat. Does black not want to work? Oh, maybe black is like a clear. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Let's try this with a light blue dyed painter and see if that wants to work a little bit better. So basically what we're trying to do is get these cables not to connect, because I just don't like the way it looks when they're, connecting like that. So light blue, that works. Okay, so just 2 different colors, and boom, they don't connect anymore. So this way, this thing will be fueled directly by the nuclear reactor, but if the reactor's off, it'll get fueled by the MFSU. Very small energy use, but it's important because I want to place another remote sensor kit on the reactor, and it doesn't really matter where you place it. And then go ahead and place it in here. And you can see that it's going to read the temperature of the reactor. Cool. Now, what it'll do is it'll be real smart about it, and it'll alert you and emit a redstone signal when the reactor is overheating. So let's see. I want to get, do I have any red alloy wiring on me? Probably not. Should have grabbed some. So with the interface here, we can tell it what temperature to look for. So right now it's set to 500, and you can bump it up to like 600, bring it up to like 1500, whatever you want. I'm going to leave it at 500. It's a good number because it basically means there's any amount of heat in this reactor. Just a little bit will cause this thing to start emitting a redstone signal. So let's try this out. I'm going to flip on the reactor. Now, right now, the reactor has no heat in it, as we know. Okay, so if I start checking the heat level, you can see it's at 0. But if I were to take one of these LZH condensators out, then we might have a little bit of a problem. Let's see what happens if we just sneak one out of here. Okay, it should start overheating a little bit. Okay, maybe not. That's not doing what I thought it would. Hang on. I think it's because this guy has just might be going into somewhere else. Let's see if I take this one out. There we go. Now we're getting a little bit of heat buildup. Oh yeah, see, the overclocked heat vents are taking over and they're releasing the heat into the environment. So the overclocked heat vents are doing their job. And, basically, there we see, now the heat vents are cooling off. So what's going to happen is this thing is going to keep monitoring until the heat level just gets too bad. So let's take a couple of these out. Let's see if I have the inventory space to handle this. So if I take out a few overclocked heat vents, flip this thing on, and LZH condensator come out, are we going to start building up heat? Oh, look, the meter on the thing is showing there's heat now, okay? And this guy over here is showing the temperature is rising. It's at 168, it's at 192. Oh boy. Once this thing gets to the level of 500, and you can see over there, 312 is the temperature, getting hotter, bad news happening, okay? 432, and we're about to hit the 500 mark. Look, the redstone signal is activated, okay? So what we can do with this then is go ahead and set it up, and look, now it's cooled off and we're good, okay? So we can set this thing up to automatically emit a redstone signal when it gets too hot in there. And then we can trip this up with like a NAND Gate or some kind of nice circuit so that when a redstone signal is applied from the remote thermal monitor, it'll turn off the nuclear reactor. Because remember, it's set up like that. Pretty cool, right? So that is the plan. Now what we could also do is invert this, which is a nice thing. And you can have it set up to emit a redstone signal when it's below temperature, which is maybe what we want to do. So maybe we want to set it up so that we can combine the lever with this thing and have it set up to emit a redstone signal. And oh look, we're wasting energy because we've just filled up our MFSU that quickly. So this thing can be set up to emit a redstone signal when it's below temperature. Now if we were to clear this stuff out a little bit real quick and steal this guy for a moment, flip it on, we should start building up heat again. And I'm going to just shrink this guy down to like 300 just to make this a little bit of a quicker demonstration. So once we hit 300 internal temperature, it'll turn off the redstone signal, preventing the nuclear reactor from running anymore. I think that's what we're going to want to do. So let's put these things back in, okay? Probably want all these guys, and then this guy. Much better, okay? So now we can see the overclocked heat vents are releasing the heat into the environment. The temperature of the reactor is back down at 0, and it's off. Cool. Once it gets back down below, we can let the thing start running again. Neat tricks, right? Meanwhile, in the apiary room, we've got lapis bees. So you can see when we apply these traits to them, they still have the slowest speed and production and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and give it some fast productivity serums, okay? So, oh, this guy actually has fast speed, but this one had slowest. So we'll just make sure that everything's good by dropping these guys in here and doing our fast productivity serum. Cool. And I'm making a new arcane door and a little bit more of the glass. Why? Well, I want this room to be a little extra secure. So what I'm going to do is place a barrier of arcane glass right down the middle, right where it already is. Nice. Yeah, I started working this a little bit off camera for you guys. So nice little barrier. Cool. So this way, if there is an explosion of that nuclear reactor, half the room gets destroyed, the other half, well, doesn't. Hooray! So from here, I probably want to have some cables coming out here and have a line of maybe the MFSUs over here, at least 3 or 4 of them. Want a way to get into the room, so we're going to want to have probably a couple things. Let's open it up like that and place the door down. Cool. That'll look nice. We can step right through and we've got a nice secure room. I'd also, I think, like to have the on-off switch for this nuclear reactor be somewhere like, over here or something. We'll figure out exactly where we want to put it, but, somewhere around here we want to have an on-off switch so that we can manually turn the reactor on and off from outside the room. Looking nice, right? From here, what else are we going to want to do? Good question. Where do I want the power to go? I'm thinking out here, but maybe I want to move my nuke reader and then have the power come out on that side. That might not be a terribly bad idea. Let's do that. Real easy to move. Just you and you. I like building with this cool stuff. Only because it means you can't accidentally break the wall behind it with your awesome and fast mining drill. Ta-da! So, nuclear information reading here, on-off switch here, and a bunch of MFSUs over here receiving power from that MFSU. So, all we gotta do is run a cable out to here, and right through this block, and everything should be pretty nice. Let's get that set up. Alright, so I've got ready to set up a test. I actually moved these guys over, and things aren't ready just yet, but they should be pretty soon. Basically what I want to do is, I haven't refilled this fabricator's config yet. I have to get a dead one of these, and they're almost dead. So what I want to see here is if I can get this working properly. And I'm also kind of concerned about how quickly this thing could overheat if too many of these die at once, but we're about to kind of test it. So let's see. Letting it tick a little bit, 9643. Getting super close to the explosion point, which is not good. Are we there yet? Almost, probably one more tick. Oh boy, what heat level did that spike up to? Pretty quickly high up. Alright, so there we go. He's clearing them out. Now, this guy is not refilling, obviously, because these things are all getting refilled, like so. Okay, and this can go in here for now. And then I need to take one of these and place it in here with a bunch of this. And say, go. And he's refilling everything. Good. Okay, excellent. So we did have a little bit of a spike. That was to be expected. But otherwise, things moved pretty quickly. Alright, I was nervous there, I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh man, this could be an explosion. So now we should be in good shape. Everything automatically refilled, and everything's working good. So I wanted to move all this stuff, so that's a little bit hidden on the side. Also, I should note that the red marker is now underneath. A little bit fancier and tighter looking design. Cool. Everything looks good. I think we're ready to really do this. All right, so I want to create an AND gate from Red Power 2. All right, so what I've made here is an AND gate from Red Power 2, and this is just a compact version of what you could build with redstone if you wanted to, but I like Red Power 2's approach. All right, so what I'm going to do is place some red alloy wire on the back here, okay, and we've got this thing that can activate the red alloy wire for me. We're going to hook up over here an AND gate. All right, now the way we want this set up is as follows. Check this out. All right, I need my screwdriver, which should be in my bag maybe. There it is. Now we might want to do something a little bit fancier. We'll see. We'll see in a bit. Might want to tweak this a little bit, but for now we want the following AND gate set up. All right, if you shift click on this thing, it'll disable that guy, okay? And what that means is that if both this redstone wire and this redstone wire are enabled, go ahead and do that, okay? And what this means is that it'll automatically shut off if either one of these are off. So you can see it's off right now, it's not running, no heat's being generated, but if I flip this lever, okay, boom, the reactor's running, and it's creating heat, and numbers are changing, right? Cool. Now, if we break one of these guys, boom, it's off again. No longer running. Redstone signal, not applied. Okay, so the reason we want to do this is so that A, we have a manual on and off switch, but we also have an automatic one, so that if any of these is off, if the remote thermal monitor says, hey, it's too hot, it instantly shuts off the reactor. Okay, so as soon as any amount of heat starts to build up in here, we're measuring for 300 or more, it'll instantly turn off the reactor and prevent it from running, while also we have the manual kill switch right here. We can say, hey, on, off. Cool. So that's what the AND gate's for. Now, eventually, we're going to add in a third AND gate position here that's going to be based off the MFSUs that we're going to put outside in the corner. So I have to rotate things around a little bit and probably change the position of the AND gate. No big deal, though. And once we've done that, awesome. Cool stuff is going to happen. Let's actually... Ooh, I've got a good idea. Let's do this. Let's put it right here. Okay, and the reason for this is, actually, my quick question would be, can this guy affect the AND gate directly without a wire? Yes, he can. Nice. Okay, so what we can do here is something like that. Okay, so this guy is instantly affecting this wire. Okay, so if I can disable this connection, okay. Now, when this overheats, for whatever reason, I wonder if one way to test it would be with a lever. Let's get this one because we don't need it anymore. Nah, doesn't transmit the redstone signal through. No big deal. So basically, if this guy, redstone signal applied, you can see it has the switch off. So we're right now saying everything is cool. See? It should, after I move this, of course. Derpy dire. Ta-da! Reactor running. And reactor off. And then I'm going to have the other redstone signal coming from here. Note that it's not connected right now. That's because I shift-clicked on the AND gate and disabled the back input. But eventually, I'll have a wire running through and over across to here. Also, we'll have some energy line coming through here, something like this, basically saying, hey, you know, this is your buffer MFSU that's in charge of keeping the remote thermal monitor going. Okay. Cool. It's looks like it's running in full. Awesome. This thing's not on, right? Okay. Like I said, very small amount of EU used. All right. And then we just run this guy along here. And then we can run both of these guys over to the MFSU and measure the MFSU. And then what we can do is we can say that, number one, you have to have the lever on and the temperature has to be below 300 and you have to have room in the MFSU to store energy. Cool. If the MFSU fills up, it turns off the wire, and then it turns off the reactor. Cool. And I think for now, 2 MFSUs ought to be enough. So I've got some glass fiber cable, I've got some MFSU. I'm about ready to wrap up here, but I want to finish this up. I want it to be, you know, pretty much functional by the time I wrap up this episode for you guys. So let's put the MFSUs here and here, okay? So this way any energy can come through here. Now I would like to actually, actually maybe not. Let me see, do I want to move them? I might actually want to move them back a little bit. Let's get a better wrench for this, because MFSUs are expensive and I don't want them to be improperly broken. You guys might or should be aware that the standard wrench has a chance, a low chance, but a chance to actually break and not properly break the block it's hitting. So I'm going to get myself a new wrench. I think I actually need a couple more of these, something along these lines, right? Is this copper? Yeah, it's copper. Ha! Derby dire, as usual. Wrench. But I'm also going to get a version of this called the electric wrench. Real simple, just needs a battery and an electronic circuit. I might even be able to make a battery. Do I have the stuff for a battery? Tin, yes. And the redstone. Battery, plus electronic circuit, plus wrench. Electric wrench, way better. This piece of junk, out of here. Let's take this guy back and charge him up. So what we're looking for is the ability to break the block with a 100% guaranteed never gonna have a problem, and it's called lossless wrench mode, and I'll show you guys how to enable it in a second. It requires more energy per block broken, but at this point we're producing enough EU that I'm not gonna worry about that. Alright, so real quick, pop in here, and energy, electric wrench, charged up, shift right click to switch into, or maybe it's M, right click. Oh, right. Key config, change this guy to something else. Okay. Hold M and right-click, lossless wrench mode enabled. Guarantees that it'll break the block correctly and not destroy whatever you're hitting. Okay, let's design this part first. So what I'm looking for here is, and I still have some glass on me? Good, because I might need a little extra. I want this stuff to come through, but you know, I don't want an explosion to really cause too much of a problem here. It shouldn't, you know, reverberate through, but I just want to be extra careful. So let's maybe do something like this. This ought to really help mitigate any potential explosions. Like I said, doubtful that we're going to have a problem, but we're going to be extra careful. And of course it occurs to me that I need my redstone to come out as well, so minor tweaks here. That ought to look good. Wait, not here. Here is where I want this thing. The one bad part about this glass is it's so hard to see. It's both a positive and a negative. Oh well. So that ought to work out pretty well for us. Okay, so the redstone can come out here, and it can connect up to whichever one of these guys I want. Now let's run this thing out to maybe here. Okay, so what we want to do is maybe here actually. We want to connect up the MFSU. This can input to the top. This will get filled. See that? It's already on its way. And then we start filling this one next, and this will get filled from this one. Okay, so you can see this is transferring into here, and this MFSU is transferring its energy into both of them. Okay, now this red alloy wire right here is the one that we want to be extra, you know, cool about. Might need just a little something. What I'm going to do is snag a handsaw and just carve up a little something. Doesn't really matter what we do. I'm going to get myself a strip, put it right here so that the red alloy wire doesn't touch that guy. Now we need something for this. Now it has its own built-in mode, so I can click the redstone button here. It says emit if full, emit if partially filled, emit if empty, do not output unless full, nothing. There's a bunch of modes we can do. Emit if full. So I'm actually looking for it to emit if it has space for energy. So partially filled doesn't work because then it, you know, if it's completely filled, it won't work. So I need to get a buildcraft logic gate, I think. So let's see. Over here. You know what, it occurs to me I'm probably making the wrong one a difference. You know what I could do? Actually, I might not need to run this red alloy wire out. Maybe I want to do this a little different. No, my initial thought was correct, and I'll explain it to you in a moment here. But basically, I think it's this one I want to measure? Yes. So we don't need this after all. Okay, we just want this guy hooked up with one of these. Cool. We can put a gate on it, and we can basically say, in the event that these gates can actually read capacitors, capacitor has energy, space for energy, okay? Go ahead and emit a redstone signal. See that? Look, nice. Okay, now here, we want this thing to do nothing in the event. Do not output energy. Nope, we don't want that. If it's receiving a redstone signal, do not output unless full. Nothing. That's what we want. And this guy, just to be safe, we want this guy set to nothing as well. This way, these MFSUs will do nothing in the event of a redstone signal being applied to them. Cool. So we've got this MFSU getting filled from that MFSU, and then it's dumping all its energy directly into this guy. And once this is full, this will fill up. And once this is filled up, it'll stop emitting a redstone signal. Come over here to our screwdriver. Click, 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 click. There we go. Everything's enabled again. So now we need all three inputs enabled in order for this thing to activate. Okay, so let's give it a shot. I was thinking, hey, maybe I could just connect it directly to this MFSU, but then I remembered, no, we're slowly draining energy into here, and if that were the case, we'd constantly be turning the reactor on and off to keep this thing full, and that would kind of be silly. I really only want this reactor turned on when these MFSUs have the ability to store energy, okay? So that should be fine. So let's turn the reactor on and see what happens. Cool. The reactor is running. We're producing energy, and it's all going into this MFSU pretty quickly, as I might add. Wow, actually really quickly. We might need to do something about how fast this is filling up. It actually occurs to me that that might be a problem because this is going to fill up faster than it can output because it's getting 2,000. Oh boy. That's okay, we'll figure something out. But for now, we'll let this go. You know, let's see how this thing happens because the condensators are going to start burning out really quickly. And I'm hoping they burn out fast enough that we can actually see this thing trip and turn off the reactor for the cool-off sequence. But if not, no biggie. Here goes nothing. We're about to hit 99. The golems might be fast enough that it might not build up any heat. Like, it might happen so quick, the reactor will be fine. But we'll find out. Going up. And about to trigger. There it goes. Wow, that was quick. All right, my golems are awesome. Now we're about to get like 4 or 5 of these in a row. Like all these are going to be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 should be in sequence. So these 7 are about to all trip at once, and that's when we're going to find out, if things happening all at once are too much of a problem. So let's just wait 1 second to see that happen. So once these all trigger, we're about to see what happens here. Hopefully there's no explosions, because that would be bad. Okay, and here goes nothing. 99. This is how we test, guys. Oh, see, look, the heat built up. The golems are taking care of replacing them all. And because the heat's built up, it's doing its thing. Okay, wait, my golem is stuck on red alloy wire. That's not good. Okay, he sorted himself out. Why are you going over there, stupid golem? Why are you doing that? I'm getting stuck on the red alloy wire. Let's turn this reactor off for a second. So the heat thing is doing its job. It's just the golem is getting stuck on the red alloy wire, which is really annoying to me. The heat thing is keeping it off. So you can see every time the heat builds up, it turns off the reactor, it cools off, and it turns it back on. So, golem just getting stuck on the pathfinding thing. Let's flip this off before I burn up all my cool-off things. So you can see the overclocked heat vents are, doing their thing. Why would you do that? Silly, foolish golem. Alright, I have an idea. What if I put this here? Oh look, he's not pathing over there. I guess because this block was here, it interacted with this inventory and this inventory. But by putting it right here, it only interacts with this one, so he doesn't have to path over. He was trying to path over and get on this side of this block. Alright, so that's better now. So the auto cooling shutoff thing worked, which is really good. Now how's about this guy? You are filling up rapidly. The only problem I have to deal with at this point is the fact that we're producing more energy than this MFSU can output at a time. Yeah, that's our position we're at right now. We're producing too much energy. But unfortunately, that's a problem for another episode. For now, we gotta wrap up. So, Direwolf 20, wrapping up episode 61. Hope you enjoyed it. Haven't set up the automatic lapis reproduction thing yet, but I've got my reactor manually switched off. Right? I did switch it off, didn't I? Okay, good. Because the one problem is that, eventually we will have a problem where if we run out of lapis, it will stop working, and it'll probably even burn up all of our overclocked heat vents, which would be painful. That would suck. We'd have to completely replace them, and that would not be cool. So we'll have to deal with that at some point. But, lapis, as long as we have plenty of it, won't happen. Okay, but because of the implementation of the heat monitor and everything, we should not ever explode at this point, short of, something weird happening. But it should be a relatively safe environment. We'll automatically switch off our reactor if we get too much heat, and we'll automatically switch off our reactor if our MFSU is filled up. So I hope that you guys enjoyed checking out this episode with all the industrial craft cool stuff. Next episode, we'll probably go into lapis auto production. We'll see if the bees keep up. I kind of have a feeling that they're not going to produce nearly enough lapis, so we'll have to do something with UU matter. We'll be fine, though. All right, guys, take it easy.